the ship they mocked in the outer rim of the galaxy, where war was business and power was measured by the size of a fleet. The Valdorian Empire ruled without challenge, their ships massive. Gleaming beasts armed with plasma cannons were symbols of fear. Every world they conquered added more slaves, more tribute, more silence across the stars. Then came whispers of a small human vessel entering contested space. It was tiny compared to the giants that patrolled the Valdorian borders, barely a kilometer long, dull gray, with mismatched panels and scorch marks across its hull. When the Empire's observers first saw it, they laughed. "Is this a ship or a child's toy?" the Valdorian admiral sneered. His bridge crew joined the laughter, even recording the transmission to show later as a joke. They didn't know the humans had been listening. The human commander, Captain Mira Kane, sat quietly in her chair aboard the TSS Valor. Her ship looked weak from the outside, but every bolt, every cable, and every weapon was a piece of Earth's last miracle. Humanity had built it in secret after the Terran Wars, a weapon forged not for conquest but survival. Mira's crew of 50 humans knew they couldn't outgun the Valdorian fleet, but they could outthink them. They had spent years watching how empires fought. Loud, proud, predictable humanity, by contrast, had learned to fight dirty, fast, and quiet. "Orders, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Cole, his eyes on the sensor display showing more than 20 Valdorian warships. "Hold position," Mira said softly. "Let them laugh a bit longer." Outside, the Valor drifted slowly through the void, its engines cold, making it appear defenseless. The Valdorian admiral saw the still ship and smirked. "Fire a warning shot," he commanded. "Let them know they're trespassing." A lance of plasma shot across the darkness, striking near the Valor, shaking the hull slightly. The crew waited, silent. Then Mira stood. "Activate Project Aegis," she said. Under the ship's dull surface, faint blue lines came alive, running across its hull like veins of light. The Valdorian sensors began to scream, detecting energy levels far beyond anything their fleet could register. What is that power reading?" the admiral demanded, but no one could answer. Mira's voice echoed across the bridge, calm and cold. "Transmission open?" "Yes, Captain," Cole replied. "This is Captain Mira Kane of the Terran supership Valor," she said, her voice steady. "You have mocked what you do not understand. Stand down or be erased." The Valdorian admiral laughed again. "Erase us? With that scrap heap?" Mira's lips curved in a faint smile. "Your mistake," she whispered. The Valor's main cannon, a railgun so massive it ran the length of the ship, powered up. The weapon used compressed magnetic fields and quantum-linked rounds, something even the most advanced alien scientists couldn't reproduce. "Oh, fire," Mira ordered. The beam of energy that erupted from the Valor didn't just cut through space, it tore it apart. The lead Valdorian battleship vanished in a burst of light, its atoms scattered before its shields could react. Then the blast wave rolled outward, hitting 4 more ships, cracking them open like eggs. The laughter on the Valdorian bridge turned into screaming, "Return fire! All guns, destroy that thing!" the admiral shouted. Plasma bolts, torpedoes, and ion blasts filled the void. But when they reached the Valor, they bent away. A glowing field surrounded the human ship, distorting light itself. "They're using gravity manipulation?" One Valdorian officer gasped. "That's impossible!" Mira's eyes glowed with reflected light from her monitors. "Not impossible," she murmured. "Just human." As the Valdorian fleet began to crumble, a final transmission echoed through their channels. "Toy battleship," Mira said quietly. "Let's see how your empire plays without its fleet." The Valor's engines roared to life, and the small ship vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only silence and wreckage. The Empire demands answers. The destruction of the Valdorian 7th Fleet echoed across the galaxy like thunder through silence. Entire systems froze their transmissions mid-sentence. Traders halted in mid-flight. Even pirate networks went dark for a moment. No one could believe what the data feeds were showing. A single Terran ship, small, dull, and ancient, had erased a fleet of 20 warships in under 5 minutes. The recording spread fast, bouncing between networks, mirrored by every intelligence service from the core to the fringe. Everyone was asking the same question. How did the humans do it? Inside the Valdorian capital, Emperor Threx Vion slammed his claws into the holographic table. The image of the destroyed fleet flickered in front of him. Crackling blue, his advisor stood silent, afraid to speak. An entire armada, wiped away by a rusted Terran relic. He roared, "Where were our defenses, our admirals, our God's damned pride?" One of his generals bowed deeply. "Your Majesty." The ship used an unknown weapon, something that bent space itself. Our scanners couldn't trace its energy origin. The Emperor's eyes glowed like molten metal. "Then find out," he hissed. "I want that human ship found, taken apart, and every human world burned until we know where that power came from." Across the stars, Terran Command listened to every intercepted transmission. In a bunker deep under the Andes Mountains, Earth's last council gathered around a dim table, holograms of the Valor glowing above them. "So, they've finally noticed us," murmured Admiral Rowe, old and tired but smiling faintly. "Mira certainly knows how to make an entrance." "She wasn't supposed to engage," said Commander Holt. "The Valor was meant for deterrence, not open combat." Rowe shook his head slowly. "You can't deter bullies with silence, Commander. Sometimes they need to see the fist." The council fell silent as a transmission came through. It was Mira, her uniform torn, her eyes sharp and calm. "Admiral," she said, "the Valdorians will retaliate. They'll come for Earth." "We're aware," Rowe replied. "You've made quite an impression." Mira nodded. "Then it's time they see what Earth really built beneath the surface." At the same time, in the Valdorian War Council, new orders were being screamed. Entire sectors were being mobilized. Carriers the size of continents began charging their warp drives. Drones swarmed through hangars, ready to hunt the humans who had embarrassed the Empire. But deep in their data archives, one old scientist, Dr. Thal Riven, watched the combat logs again and again. His scales shimmered pale under the blue light. "No plasma signature," he muttered. "No antimatter traces, no thermal output. They didn't fire energy, they fired gravity." "What are you saying, Riven?" another researcher asked. "I'm saying the humans weaponized space-time," Riven whispered, his eyes wide. "That's technology we outlawed millennia ago." Suddenly, alarms screamed across the lab. The Emperor's personal guard entered. "By order of His Majesty, all researchers involved in this project are detained." "But why?" Riven gasped. "Because the Emperor fears the truth," the guard said coldly, "and fears what humans might have become, far away." On the Valor, Mira stood at the viewport watching the stars drift slowly. Her second-in-command approached. "Captain, the Empire will not rest," he said. "I know," Mira replied softly. "That's why we're heading for Sol. Humanity's last bastion must awaken." As the Valor entered warp, space folded around it like liquid glass behind them. Valdorian listening posts caught only a whisper before the human ship vanished again. "Message to all Terran colonies," Mira said. "The Empire is coming. Prepare the Aegis network." Across hidden worlds, ancient satellites blinked awake. Dormant weapons hummed, and a sleeping defense grid began to stir. The galaxy thought humanity was weak, broken, scattered. But the truth was different. Humanity had never been conquered, they had only been waiting. The hunt for the Valor. The Valdorian Empire had never been humiliated before, but now every noble house demanded vengeance. Fleets poured from their shipyards like a tide of fire, billions of tons of metal driven by hatred and fear. The order was simple. Find the Terran battleship Valor and erase its name from existence. In the command deck of the Imperial dreadnought Solar Wrath, Admiral Karen stood before a galaxy map, glittering with red dots, each representing one of his hunting squadrons. "The humans will run," he said, his voice sharp as a blade. "They are prey pretending to be predators they can't hide forever." But deep inside, Karen felt something he hadn't felt in centuries, unease. He had seen the recording. The moment the Valor's cannon fired, the way space itself had bent like water under its force. It didn't look like a weapon. It looked like a law of physics rewritten. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Mira Kane and her crew drifted in the shadow of a dying star. The Valor's lights were dimmed, its engines cold. Hiding within the debris field of an ancient battle around her, holograms showed the galaxy's search grids tightening. "They've deployed 3,000 ships to find us," Lieutenant Cole said quietly. "They're scanning every sector within 100 light years." Mira leaned forward, her eyes locked on the glowing map. "Then we won't run," she said. "We'll let them find what they're looking for." The crew exchanged nervous looks. They knew what that meant. The Valor was powerful but not invincible. Every battle risked revealing more of its secrets. Yet Mira had a plan. one born not of strength, but of human cunning. "Prepare the mirrors," she ordered. Hours later, the Valdorian fleet entered the sector. Their sensors detected a faint human signature near the dead star. Admiral Karen grinned. "At last," he hissed. "Prepare all weapons." The Solar Wrath sensors locked onto a small human signal. It looked like the Valor, same size, same energy trace. "Fire!" Karen roared. Thousands of plasma bolts screamed through space. Lighting up the void, the explosion ripped the silence apart. But as the light faded, there was nothing left, no wreckage, no life signs, only silence. "Confirmed kill," said one of Karen's officers. "The human vessel is gone." But moments later, alarms blared across the dreadnought. Multiple warp signatures detected above, below, and behind us. The space around the Valdorian fleet shimmered, and hundreds of ghostly reflections appeared, each one looking exactly like the Valor. Their sensors went mad, unable to tell which was real. "What trickery is this?" Karen growled. Mira's voice came through the comms, calm and quiet. "You searched for the Valor, Admiral. You found a mirror. The false signals were being projected from asteroids, debris, and even energy distortions created by the Valor itself." The fleet panicked, firing in all directions. Hitting their own ships, then the real Valor emerged from the shadow of the dead star, silent and invisible until it fired. The railgun screamed once. A single round cut through 6 ships in one line, tearing through their shields like they were made of paper. The Valdorian formation broke. "Retreat! Retreat!" Karen shouted, but his words came too late. The Valor slipped through the chaos like a phantom, using the enemy's confusion to destroy their command ships in less than 10 minutes. What had been the most powerful fleet in the sector was nothing but drifting metal. When it was over, Mira sat back in her chair. Breathing slowly, her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from what she knew this meant. "They'll keep coming," she whispered. "And they'll never stop." Lieutenant Cole looked at her. "Then we show them the truth," he said. Mira nodded. "Send a signal to Earth Command." "Code Black," she said. "It's time to awaken the sleepers." Far away, on the dark side of the moon, something vast stirred. Beneath the lunar dust, enormous silos opened, revealing the silhouettes of ships older than any known empire. Each one bore a single marking across its hull, TSS. The galaxy had thought the Valor was a miracle. But the truth was terrifying. The Valor was only the first. The sleeping fleet awakens. The galaxy thought humanity had only one ship, one miracle called the Valor. But deep beneath Earth's surface and the shadows of her moons, something vast and ancient began to stir. Massive bunkers trembled as hidden silos cracked open for the first time in centuries. Dust drifted through the air like ghosts of a forgotten war. Inside Terran Command, alarms pulsed red. Admiral Rowe stood before the holographic map of Sol System, watching as dozens, then hundreds of signals came online. Each one marked with the same prefix, TSS. "The sleepers," he whispered. "They're waking." From the frozen craters of Luna to the black oceans of Europa, massive hulls began to rise. They had been buried under ice, sand, and oceans, hidden from alien scanners for generations. Each ship was a relic of the Terran Final Defense Initiative, vessels built not to conquer, but to ensure that humanity would never again kneel. Mira's transmission flickered onto Rose's screen, her face calm but determined. "Admiral, Code Black confirmed," she said. "The Valdorians won't stop. We can't hide anymore." Rowe nodded slowly. "Then let them see what Earth really kept in the dark." Across the solar system, the Terran superships powered up. Their engines glowed with cold blue light. Their hulls built from black alloys that bent light and radar alike. Some were carriers capable of holding cities. Others were dreadnoughts equipped with gravity cannons powerful enough to bend moons. The Valdorian intelligence network went into chaos. Dozens of conflicting reports streamed in. Ghost signals from Sol, massive power surges detected near Mars, unexplainable gravitational distortions on Earth's moon. "It's impossible," cried one Valdorian scientist. "They can't have that many ships. They don't have the resources." But the truth was crueler. Humanity had not spent centuries rebuilding. It had spent centuries preparing. Every Terran colony, every abandoned outpost, every mining moon had funneled its resources into the Aegis network, a secret web linking all human worlds to Earth's defense grid. Meanwhile, Admiral Karen limped back to the Valdorian capital. His fleet in ruins, his pride shattered. He stood before Emperor Threx Vion again, head bowed. "The humans, They were ready, Your Majesty, he said quietly. We were blind. The Emperor rose slowly from his throne, his wings unfurling with fury. Then we strike before they can rally, he snarled. Mobilize the Grand Armada, every world, every legion. I will burn Earth to ash myself. At that same moment, far from any star, Mira and the Valor joined the reawakening fleet near Neptune's shadow. Her ship looked small among the titans that surrounded it, but every crew member who saw it felt the same shiver of pride. Humanity was no longer a forgotten race, it was a storm waiting to be unleashed. Fleet command coming online, said Lieutenant Cole, his voice trembling. All ships reporting ready. Captain? Mira gazed at the hundreds of Terran warships stretching across the void, each one glowing faintly like a star reborn. Transmit to all vessels, she said, her voice calm and steady. This is Captain Mira Kane of the Valor. You've slept long enough, the galaxy forgot who we were. It's time to remind them across the fleet. Human voices echoed through comm channels. Cheers rising through static and signal. The engines ignited, and for the first time in centuries, the Terran Armada moved as one. In the silence of deep space, the stars dimmed as if they too were watching. The Empire that once laughed at a toy battleship now faced an entire civilization's wrath. And as the fleet prepared to jump, the Valor's systems pulsed one last message through every Terran ship. For Earth, for humanity, for the forgotten. Then, the void shattered as hundreds of Terran ships vanished into warp, a tidal wave of vengeance heading straight for the Valdorian homeworld. The fall of the Valdorian Empire. The Valdorian homeworld hung like a burning jewel in the void, surrounded by thousands of warships. Their Grand Armada shimmered with energy fields and pride. Every cannon aimed toward the blackness of space, waiting for the Terran fleet. They had mocked humanity once, but now they waited in fear. When the human armada emerged from warp, the galaxy held its breath. Hundreds of Terran ships appeared like ghosts from the dark. Silent and cold, their hulls bore the scars of ancient wars. Yet they moved in perfect unity. At the center of them all was the Valor, small but bright, the ship that started it all. Inside the Valdorian throne room, Emperor Threx Vion watched the incoming swarm. So, they finally crawl from their dirt, he growled. Let them come. Let them see what true power is. But in the silence of space, humanity's fleet spoke first. A single message echoed through every channel, carried on every frequency. This is Captain Mira Kane of the Terran supership Valor. You laughed at our ship, you mocked our name, you called us weak. But humanity remembers. Then the sky lit up. The Terran fleet moved as one. Flares of blue energy erupted as gravity cannons fired, bending space into spears of destruction. Valdorian shields shattered under weapons they couldn't understand. Entire battle groups vanished before they could return fire. The Emperor screamed for his fleets to regroup, but their formation collapsed within minutes. The Terran ships moved like predators, coordinated, silent, relentless. Every time the Valdorians adapted, the humans changed tactics faster. Inside the Valor, Mira stood calm amid the storm. Target their capital carrier, she ordered. The railgun roared once more, tearing a hole straight through the flagship's core. The explosion that followed lit the Valdorian sky like a second sun. On the ground below, billions watched in awe as their proud navy burned in orbit. The people who had been told humans were primitive now saw the truth. This was no primitive species. This was evolution with purpose. Survival turned into vengeance. The Emperor's palace shook as debris rained from the heavens. He staggered toward the window, flames reflecting in his eyes. How can this be? He whispered, a voice replied behind him, projected through his throne room's comms. Because you never understood us, Mira said softly. Humans don't build for glory, we build to endure. Moments later, the Valor's shadow passed over the palace. The ground trembled as its main cannon powered up. The Emperor's last words were lost in the sound of thunder. When the light faded, the Valdorian capital was gone, replaced by a crater glowing like the heart of a dying star. The rest of the Empire surrendered within hours. Transmissions of white flags flooding the network. Across the galaxy, silence spread once again, but this time it was a silence of respect. Every empire, every race, every council whispered the same thing: never underestimate Earth. Back aboard the Valor, Mira stood before her crew. The war was over, but her eyes were distant. We won, Lieutenant Cole said quietly. The galaxy will never challenge us again. Mira shook her head slowly, No, Cole, they'll study us, they'll fear us. And fear always returns. She looked out into the stars, her voice soft as the hum of the engines. Our duty isn't to rule them. It's to make sure no one ever dares to enslave another world again. The Valor turned away from the ruined planet, its engines glowing faintly. Behind it, the Terran Armada drifted like silent guardians of the new age. Humanity had come from the ashes, and now, the stars themselves bowed in quiet respect. And in that endless night, one small message echoed through the fleet's private channel, a phrase that would become legend across the galaxy. They called it a toy battleship, but it carried the soul of mankind.